the Youngblood hybrid series. This is book 1 right here. It's a vampire romantasy, and I personally think it's a great book. I mean, I have a few reviews that say the same. So I thought, why not do a series of fireside chats? So what I'm going to do is, as your beloved author, I'm going to read a few pages of Youngblood, and I'm going to read them as if I were the characters. So I will read a few pages at a time. I may stop to take breaks after a certain amount of pages just to drink some water. I won't be reading the whole book in one sitting, don't be worried. Just a few pages, and then I'll pick up where I left off in the next live. So you may see me here, and then you may see me doing this also on my Instagram. So, and this is not a ploy to gain followers or to do anything like that. I just want to engage with my current readers and engage with the readers that I will have. So, without further ado, let's get this started. Okay. Okay. Chapter 1. Standing in what was once my dining room, my mind drifted to its daily thought. I wonder what my son looks like now. My breath hitched as the possibility swarmed before my eyes. Did Liam have his father's shaggy, dirty blonde hair, chiseled cheekbones, and kind blue eyes? Loud footsteps and grunts of frustration pulled my attention back to the present. My family milled around the room, continuing their monotonous search. The thick, long oak table that seated up to 20 people had a cheap white cloth over it, but the wood was still marred from endless scratches. My combat boots tapped on the scuffed floors where my love and imprint, Doran, once held me close while gliding us in a dance to our favorite song. The chandelier overhead blazed on its highest setting as me and my sisters hunched over a large map. This farmhouse, sitting on acres of land in upstate New York, used to be my sanctuary. But now, it was our war room. My eldest sister, Malia, sat back on her stool. Her dark cyan blue eyes were glassy from a million thoughts and ideas passing through her mind at once. She was the first of our human-vampire hybrid species, and the leader of our army against the Order, a vampire organization that wanted to exterminate the hybrids. Where is the witch? Malia, voice devoid of emotion, gave our sister Chrysanthia a steely stare. The two were comically different in appearance, though we all shared the same Maltese father. Malia's chestnut-colored skin had an underlying glow like the sun followed her everywhere she went. Her well-defined cheekbones held a permanent contoured shadow. Her plump lips were always in a slightly sexy smirk. Malia's nose was perfectly narrow and proportioned. Her breathy voice tied it all together. Malia turned her powerfully toned frame sideways to stare pointedly at Chrysanthia, who was studying the maps with her forehead creased in concentration. Her dainty hands pressed onto the pages. Chrysanthia's petite feminine curves bumped the table's edge. I nudged Chrysanthia with an elbow to her arm until she jerked her head up. Blonde, straight hair whipped against her neck. Her cheeks flushed a rosy pink while turning her sparkling blue gaze onto Malia. What? She blinked a few times as if realizing where her whereabouts. Theo, Malia's second-in-command and twin brother, rushed into the room, as was his nature. He never stayed still for long. He tucked a thick strand of shoulder-length wavy brown hair behind his ear while sitting down to pull on his ankle boots. It was a wonder to me that Malia and Theo turned out the way they did with a mother like Lucia. Theo seemed easy enough to get along with, but he always appeared lost in his thoughts. Malia was cold, calculating, and manipulative. Most likely traits she had to absorb to survive their mother. Our father turned Lucia into a vampire, and that heightened her disturbing behavior. She tortured her children when they were human by scorching their skin with fire or holding them down under water in the pond that occasionally flooded their hut. Voices whispered convoluted stories in Lucia's head about hybrids being an abomination and the species needed to be exterminated by any means necessary. Believing the voices spoke the truth, she joined the order. Her manipulations and strategic thinking led the members to agree with her and eventually made her their leader. What I tended to forget was that Malia and Theo were fighting a battle long before the order ever came into the picture. I see a few people join. Thank you so much for joining. Hello, everybody. Hello. Just want to reiterate what this is about. My name is Medallio Green, and I am the author of a romantasy paranormal novel called Youngblood. It's a part of the Hybrid series. So I decided that it would be hilarious to me to read you guys a few pages of my book. And not just read them, but act them out as if I were the characters. So I hope that you're entertained tonight. Feel free to stay and listen. I'll be reading just a few pages, not a whole chapter, not in one sitting. We don't have time for all that. So we're just going to do a few pages, and then I'll pick up where I left off in the next live. You may see me doing the same thing on my Instagram as well. Feel free to join in if you'd like to. Also, if you have a copy of Youngblood, follow along. That would be hilarious. Okay, back to where I left off. Theo stood up, stomping his boots while fussing over them. Do you have everything? Malia eyed him curiously. He put his index finger on his chin and stared with unfocused blue-green eyes that glinted in the light, almost as breathtaking as his flawless face and the same sun-kissed shade as Malia. He wasn't taller than the other men in the room, but leaner with corded muscles when he strained. He crossed his legs. Resting his ankle on his foot, he nodded vigorously and Melita mimicked the gesture. I'll be fine, sister. Don't worry about me. Theo reached out and ruffled her hair when she walked closer. Malia slapped his hand away. Go now. You need to be with her before the order comes. He nodded, then his eyes bounced around the room. Bye, everyone. With my eyes narrowed, trying to figure out what they were talking about, I watched him leave through the front door. Where is he going? He must fulfill a task. Malia huffed in annoyance. Isn't the witch supposed to have been here by now? Her impatience matched mine. Before I could ask anything more, Chrysanthia chimed in with a clipped tone. The witch has a name. Mina will be here. Our father gave his word. The musical intonation of her English accent was like a symphony that hadn't been created yet. My eyes rolled upward at her absolute trust in our father. Resentment ran deep into the marrow of my bones, since he gave me up for adoption to human parents that I slayed when I turned into a hybrid on my 18th birthday. I had very little faith that he would come through with a witch powerful enough to transport multiple people at one time to a location cloaked and warded with tenebrous magic. Hating my father was the least of my worries. My knee bounced as if expelling the anxiety building up inside while studying the detailed map of New York. After scouring the earth and dismantling many of the Order's locations, it was almost comical that one of the Order's inner sanctums was somewhere in the state of New York, where I resided. Somehow, the Order has aided Evita, my Romani witch mother, in cloaking my son after kidnapping him over 10 years ago. Evita and the Order struck a fruitful relationship after an obscene act of violence where Malia slaughtered Evita's family centuries ago. The Order discovered a powerful ally in their crusade of eradicating hybrids from the world. After absorbing her coven's magic, Evita shed her humanity. Against all forces of nature, Evita used ancestral magic to stop aging and stay alive for centuries in a human body. On her quest for revenge, Evita used a spell to see her future, where her daughter birthed a more powerful witch than her. This only tipped the odds in her favor as she set out to make sure that I was born so that all the pieces would fall into place. My role in all this caused my chest to tighten. Absently, I pressed my hand to my breast to smooth the ache. I wasn't a daughter to her, but a pawn to be played with. I bit my bottom lip while Malia and Chrysanthia bickered like siblings who had known each other for hundreds of years. How do you see the future, but you can't see when a witch will drop in? Malia pressed her fingertips to her eyes in an exasperated gesture. Chrysanthia straightened with her hands on her hips, and a glare distorted her beautiful face. We all wouldn't know anything if it weren't for my visions. I can just as easily not tell you. She dragged her finger along the seam of her lips and twisted an invisible key, then mimed, throwing it away. Malia rolled her eyes while pushing the stool back, drawing a loud screech on the hardwood floor. Crossing her arms, Malia gave her a stern look. Maybe Mina can stand in for you then. Chrysanthia's eyes widened, then narrowed as pink splotches tinged her delicate, pale features. I'll ask her when she gets here. I could use a holiday. Her snobby tone drew a chuckle out of Malia. I shook my head at their bickering. It was a long day. Hell, it was a long couple of decades. All too familiar with their arguing, I tuned them out with thoughts of Liam. Did he have my chestnut complexion? Would he harbor Dorian's compassion? As if my wary thoughts beckoned his presence, Dorian wrapped his arms around my waist from behind. His musty cedar scent blanketed me like a snug swaddle. When I turned my head, our gazes caught. The storm clouds darkening his ethereal blue eyes brought tears to mine. His guilt and worry were just as loud as the thunderclaps barreling over our land on the day we lost our son. Those memories gripped my soul and reeled me in, dragging Dorian with me. Magic hung heavy, powdering the air with its thickness. The front door hung to the side on one copper hinge. Pieces of its white-painted wood were strewn throughout the foyer, sticking into the stairs, walls, and ceiling like splintered spikes. Shards of glass from our French-style front windows covered the lawn that Dorian worked tirelessly at keeping immaculate. Sharp blades destroyed the rose bushes that he planted for me when we found out that I was pregnant with Liam. Pieces of glass cut through the delicate pink petals, while some tore into the thickly rooted tree trunks a few feet away. The old farmhouse didn't stand a chance against my mother's powerful magic. My chest heaved with shock and fear at the sudden outburst of destruction to my beloved home. My body wedged in between the counter's edge and the vintage fridge. Chips of turquoise paint flaked onto my sneakers. Quickly I turned to the large window above the sink and tried to lift my fist to the warm glass, but my arms wouldn't move. A few expletives slipped out, cursing Evita for casting the spell. Dorian and a 3-year-old Liam continued laughing while Dorian chased him in a small circle, oblivious to the destruction of our home. My body stiffened while the sound of metal bending made my heart jump. In a fit of frustration, my screams bounced off the window. Dorian, she's here! Evita's here! The last of my words were cut off by a sob. Terror shook my body as the sun hid behind incoming dark gray clouds. Dorian passed Liam a mesh net to catch butterflies. The house's destruction still unnoticed. The soft smile on Dorian's face made a lump form in my throat. Hi everybody, I think I'm going to stop right there. That was page 5 of chapter 1 of Youngblood, the hybrid series, book 1, authored by yours truly, Medallio Green. If you'd like a copy, it is available on Amazon in paperback form and free on Kindle Unlimited. So if you want to get yourself a copy and follow along, I think I'll be doing these again. It looks like it was well received, so I hope you were all entertained. I actually haven't read the book in a while since I published it back in May of this year. So I was like tickled pink by some like the cute little moments between Malia and Chrysanthia. So, but again, if you're interested in following along, you can get a copy of Youngblood. It's on Amazon. You can also buy it directly from me on my website, medalliogreen.com, in digital form. It's just $5. But thank you all for joining. You might see me doing this again on my Instagram, so hop on over there. I'll be reading the same pages though, but please come. All right. Bye everybody. Thank you so much.